Okay, I got a comment on my Iron Sword video that's attempting to kill two birds with one stone, fixing the Iron Sword and also incentivizing maxing gear to quality 4. Now, I've seen a couple of streamers not really max out their gear, and they're relatively new, but there's the thing, they're relatively new. I think this is just a mistake. It is a mistake. I've mathematically shown it. That's the percentages of damage and stagger are just too high to really ignore at the right levels. And oftentimes I hit those levels on runs now without grinding. And I think that many people maining a weapon, even having a secondary, will hit those levels just fine, especially having returned update to update to update. This is still an early access game, and especially by the time the game hits 1.0, I don't think there's anybody going to be like, oh, well, what do I do? You know, it's like, okay, well, the players right now, there's going to be a huge community of people that understand, hey, at these levels, maxing out the gear, pretty great. And if not, well, I have a video to show them. So, yeah, mathematically, big mistake. Are the players inexperienced? Will they make that mistake? Sure, but they'll also make a ton of other mistakes. That's fine. That's fine. A lot of things aren't intuitively shown in this game. I think a lot of them could be. So I think that actually showing the percentages of staggering and like effective damage modified that you could be getting would be cool. Maybe not even attached to the weapon tab when you see the weapon UI change, like, oh, it goes up 6 damage. Well, what about all the other stuff? The staggering and the effective damage with modifiers. Well, that might be a little bloated and crowded, but a lot of people don't seem to mind a lot of text in your face about upgrades when you see the Diablo format, or just a lot of MMOs in general. Doesn't seem to be a problem with a lot of text in your face. And honestly, we have a lot of like text lines that are pretty useless that we see. Like right now, durability, it's like, okay, well, yeah, there's durability, but you can just portal home and repair your stuff. You know, most of your gear is going to have pretty much effective infinite durability once you get beyond a certain point. And if it breaks, I mean, that's not on the gear's fault. So we have some interesting things. We could add more text, or we could not. We could also add what this person incentivizes, or what this person said could incentivize people to upgrade their gear, which is an extra damage with a higher resource cost. And so that extra damage could be most likely elemental. So we see, bronze adds fire, iron is poison, silver's cold, black metal, spirit. And so this is interesting. I think it wouldn't work unless they rebalanced all of their gear, and then I don't think there would be a universal enjoyment of this. So poison damage, not very good. Frost damage is absolutely incredible. Having a frost sword in the Mountains Age is phenomenal. Like, it's really, really good. Like, having your Draugr Fang maxed out be poison and frost? The frost bow is absurd. Frost bow is absolutely magnificent. And it's extremely powerful. That's like a beyond S tier style of weapon. So having that, I look at, even like a potential plains bow. Or I look at the spine snap, and I'm like, why would I even make the spine snap? If, you know? Like, the frost is just so strong right now. If you have frost at the end of every mountain tier gear, a lot of plains tier gear would be automatically skipped. Even Mistlands tier would be automatically skipped to a certain degree. You know, your Himanoffel, your Magic, all of this would still be made. Your Mistwalker would still be made, because it has the elements as a base requirement. The poison gear in Iron Age, that wouldn't really be a good make either, because poison doesn't stack hit to hit. So that's not really the best make in that regard. And a lot of people just subjectively don't really like the look of more fancy, mystical, magical looking gear. So I had 2 comments in my comment section that are actually not too into that. So one of them says, I just really want a clean looking iron sword variant, or not even iron, but like a swamp age sword variant that just isn't special or magical in any way. And the other one says, I think there should only be like maybe a couple of magical items tier per tier, and the others should be relatively ordinary. So we have 2 comments that are voiced against that idea, and then 1 that's voiced for it. I already don't like those odds, even though it is extremely, extremely small sample size. It just puts the point of personal preference into perspective. Now, if you go in and fix poison, either making it stack hit to hit, or making it sort of have some sort of control on it, I think then that poison could be pretty good. But I would also want it only on specific bits of gear. So let's say your iron sledge quality 4, because it's so expensive, give it a little boost. Maybe your silver sword, because it's so expensive, you give it a little boost. So gear that's extremely expensive, like out of the ordinary expensive to upgrade, and that even with the mathematical bonuses understood and known, people would say, I don't know about making that. I think those items you give a boost. I think those items you give a special enhancement at quality 4. And everybody would say, oh, I'm all about that. I'm all about it. Now this person does specify limited amount of elemental boost. Still, that would be really good with Frost. And so we have a sort of imbalance there. But even then, this depends on the weapon's damage type. So the sledge, not only is it the most expensive, like I mentioned, but it is a sledge, which poison works perfectly for because it is a slow AoE type move, which means you're using it very infrequently, bonking, which means you have more opportunity to get more of that poison DOT, and also, because of the AoE being spherical, you're most often using it from a relatively safe spot. So you don't have to worry about taking your time and letting the poison tick down. I think that would be an amazing item, a sledge with poison on it. That would be sick. A frost sword in the mountains. Oh yeah, give me that. Mostly physical? Yeah. Just icing on the cake frost damage? Oh yeah, excellent. Really nice. Really, really nice. I would take that any day. Because even if it's icing on the cake, that frost damage is putting in work. But because it's icing on the cake, you're not really losing much effectiveness when you are fighting frost-resistant or frost-immune enemies in that biome. So that's an item that can really extend its value, but is still outclassed when the Mistwalker arrives, leading to a relatively normal progression. This person also says that you'd replace the spirit and put it to the black metal age, which I think is just a really good way of balancing out the black metal sword so that it's not skippable. If you make the silver sword a frost sword and you gave black metal spirit instead, that would be cool. That would be really nice, especially considering you'd be getting black metal for Yagluth, right? At least the idea is there that you're working up, you're smithing and forging your gear so that you can go kill this boss, and that's very good. I love that idea. It could also be like a silverish alloy, so the black metal could take a little bit of silver in it, kind of like how the silver sword takes a little bit of iron in it now to make. That would be just a really nice idea. That would be really cool too, personally. But also, I think a lot of people understand that certain types of gear pretty useful to upgrade to quality 4, not because of, well, you're going to be using it to best effectiveness in your current biome necessarily, but you have sometimes half a biome before you're getting to that next option. So when you go first to the swamps, there's quite a bit of time, even when you first get iron, before necessarily getting your iron upgrade. You could be upgrading any number of things, making any number of things with iron that could still help you get iron faster. Let's say iron pickaxe, the long ship. Maybe you make an obliterator. Of course, the obliterator wouldn't help, but I mean, it's extra coal for smelting in that regard. So yeah, it would. You can make all of these things. You could even make something that is relatively unique in that regard. So maybe somebody's trying out a battle axe now. Well, you're not upgrading battle axe from anything prior. It's a unique weapon at that point. So if you're trying out the battle axe as your first weapon, maybe you do want a maxed bronze weapon. That's something else. Maybe if you're trying out the battle axe, then you upgrade your bronze gear to quality 4 in the meantime, if you have bronze laying around. Which it's just a good idea to have that. But yeah, I think at least in this regard, once you start getting gear of the next tier, I think even beyond just being able to get a higher tier pickaxe, the past gear should be easy to get. It should be easier. It should be much easier to acquire in materials wise. So when you're gathering your bronze or smelting it, there should be some other way where that's made easy. So we see the frost caves. There's bronze in there. I think in the swamps there should be some sort of bronze around as well that you can just get super easy, like in the frost caves. I think that once you get into the mountains, that there should be like kind of a source of iron. You know, more than just the frost caves. Like, oh, you might get an iron bar from the gate. I think it should be like a little bit more convenient than that. And so that there's a lot more experimentation and that your gear can be more easily upgraded while you're looking into the future for silver gear. And some people might look at that and say, I don't know. I don't know why I would upgrade this and that. But then there are also missing tiers of gear. So I'm not necessarily upgrading tier to tier for an at gear because the at gear is missing in the Mountain Age. There is no Silver Age at gear. So if I want to do, let's say, not upgrade the Iron at gear up to quality 4 and venture into the mountains and go get my next silver gear, and boom, all of a sudden realize there's no silver tier at gear, well, now it's time to max out the old iron one, but I'm in the mountains now. That's when that extra iron supply would be really good. And then also, going off of the suggestion of making, like, spirit moving to a black metal sword, I think there should be some source of odd silver in the plains. Maybe if they added the plains dungeon. I know they said they didn't want to, but it would just be a good idea to have a plains dungeon. If there would be a plains dungeon, maybe there would be like some sort of silver that the Fullings have hidden away underground. They don't want you to use it for Yagluth, and it's like, well, okay, you know, A, I've gone into the mountains, so hee, that's very funny. But B, it would be like, well, once you're in those dungeons and cleared the dungeons, it would be easy access silver, much like breaking that brazier there. So it would be really, really cool because that silver would be used in the black metal alloy, judging off of this person's suggestion. I think that would be very, very worth your while, and it would make upgrading gear to quality 4 for that half biome's purpose a lot more easy and well incentivized. So let's go over this right back from the get-go, do a little rewind, a little roundup. First off, incentivizations, relatively subjective. Some people might be incentivized based off of the math. Some people might not be. Some people might be incentivized regardless of the math. Some people might not be. Some people might be incentivized by the cool glow. Some people might not be, or they might be de-incentivized by it. Some people might be incentivized to not upgrade their gear to quality 4 because it has a glow that they don't like. Sometimes there's gear that you can upgrade to quality 4, and that's okay because of the unique properties. However, there's quite a bit of gear that can be and that do benefit from these unique properties. Now, moving biome to biome, there is most of the time about half biomes worth of mobs to fight through, where you would be getting that quality 4 benefits, fighting through enemies while you're still yet to make that gear. And then sometimes, of course, because there are missing tiers, that gear does not even exist, and it's a good idea to be incentivized to upgrade that maximum. If the game made that more convenient, that would be wonderful. Even then, if we look at everything through the perspective of people really wanting the glowy elemental effects, then we would have to balance out everything in that regard. Poison would have to be made a lot better, and certain aspects with silver and black metal would have to be shifted around. I think it could work. I don't think subjectively a lot of people would enjoy it. It would be pretty split on that regard. I know I would be totally fine with it. I think very specifically for me, certain items should have a frost effect, or maybe certain items should have a poison effect. I think those mechanically would work phenomenally, and there would be a really cool icing on the cake boost. Overall, it's a really cool perspective to take a dive into, and I'll be talking more about the impact of types of gear like the Stag Breaker in the next video. I hope you've enjoyed this one and this really odd like Frost Cave recording that I had. I mean, I just want to just back up here for a moment and show you this. When I exit it, I think I opened the inventory. Look at the fish that I got. 8 Tetra quality 1, 1 Tetra quality 2. That's absurd. I love that. Good mats here too. 24 Fenris hair, 5 bronze, 2 silver necklaces. Top quality cave. I mean, this Tetra. Whoa. Alright, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys some other time. Goodbye.